Welcome everybody. I apologize for being late. I have no excuse. I just looked at the clock wrong and just suddenly, oh my gosh, it's 20. So my apologies, I was late. Okay, so we're going to start with 3/7 line prayer, and we're going to do a short meditation. The purpose is to engage a pure motivation and also to just prepare our minds to receive the Dharma. So, Arnie, will you lead us? Did you hear me?
Oh, what? You asked me to lead, did you?
Yeah. It's just broadcasting. I don't know if it recorded or not.
Oh, broadcasting?
Yeah. No one's watching, don't worry.
All right. That's great. Okay, so welcome everybody. It's great to see you all again. And Fred, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice to see you, Fred.
Nice to meet you.
So, and your name?
Marianne.
Marianne. Okay, nice to meet you too. I think I've seen you here before. Anyway, the rest of you, I think, were here last week, right? Or were you? Neither of you were here last week, right? Okay. You weren't either. Okay. Right. So. Yeah, we can do that in a minute. Okay, so maybe we'll just do a short review of the class last week. It's kind of hard to condense it because it was partly a spontaneous class where we kind of jumped off of different questions and that sort of thing. But basically, in the Buddhist path, we are, we are working to reveal what's already there. That's really the bottom line. Buddha teaches us that the essence of our true nature is this exquisite, primordial wisdom nature that is inherently there that is not revealed to us, or we're not recognizing that because there's all these obscuring factors of the mind stream, these things that get in the way that where we can't really see clearly. But the truth of what we are is there. It's always been there. It's never changed. You can't take it away or put it there. It's just there. And the Buddhist teachings and the whole path are based on that fundamental principle. So we talked about last week about the different things that are in the way of us being able to recognize that true inherent nature, this Buddha nature that's within all of us equally. And what can we do to unveil it and be able to recognize it and then therefore move forward on the path of enlightenment and help others do the same thing. So it's described in the teachings that we have fundamental poisons or passions of the mind stream. And the Buddha taught that there's 5 primary ones. In fact, it's kind of a sequential diagram if you look at this. And we talked about this last week, but there's actually 3 primary poisons, and they kind of expand out to 5 poisons, and then from there expands out to 10 non-virtues, and then from there it takes a huge leap and goes into 84,000 mental afflictions. So it's huge. So we go, the three basics are hatred, greed, and ignorance. And then expanding out from that would be hatred, greed, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. And then expanding out to that are the 10 non-virtues. There's 3 that relate to the body, 4 to the speech, and 3 to the mind. And there's a list of that I can share with you later. And then I can't tell you the entire list of 84,000. all I know, to me that's like this huge number. That what it says is that there's all kinds of dimensions and aspects to these 5 fundamental poisons of the mind. And I thought maybe we would talk a little bit about that today, because it's easy for us to say, okay, yeah, let's look at hatred or anger in the mind, jealousy, pride, attachment, and those kind of things. But what are the things that are like in between the lines? And so maybe we can dissect one of those today, and then see if we can figure out how to apply the antidotes. Because in the teachings, it says that we have these 5 primary obscurations of the mind. It's just like your view or your awareness is being clouded over, like I can't see through my fingers, or my hands, let's say hands. I can see a little bit through the fingers. So, but that it's an obscuring condition of the mind. But we also, what's really true about us is that we also have these pure qualities that are the counterpart to these poisons. And in the teachings it says that what is the absolute purification of these 5 poisons, what you're left with are the 5 primordial wisdoms. So it would be like, it's just like also it says in the teachings that the senses, that we filter everything through, that is the domain of our ego clinging self-nature. These 5 senses, taste, touch, feel, all that. If those were purified, it'd be the 5 primordial wisdoms. They're all related here. So this is the goal that we're wishing to achieve. We want to remove these obscuring conditions of the mind stream so that we can reveal and expose what's been there all this time, just waiting for us to reveal it. So basically that's what we began to talk about last week, these 5 poisons, but also these, we didn't talk about the 5 primordial wisdoms. What we did talk about were like the qualities of mind that lead us wisdom. So last week we talked about, based on Gyaltsen Rinpoche's teachings that he gave years ago to the children here at the temple, in this very room he gave his teachings. And he said that he told the children, you have 5 enemies and you have 5 friends. Can you hear him saying that? Just put my preschool teacher hat on there. Years ago I had that good fortune. But anyway, the 5 enemies, we call those the 5 passions, the 5 poisons. Of course, the 5 friends, or friends that can relate to it, are simply the opposite of the 5 enemies or the 5 poisons. So if you look at hatred, then the opposite of that would be obviously loving kindness or patience, or something that reveals kindness, like through the patience you would have to seek to understand the suffering of that person. And then, and you guys can help me out here with something I'm not remembering.
They can't hear you, so it's Ani Sange.
Oh, hi, Ani Sange.
Picture several, but hopefully she can hear you.
Okay. So then we have hatred and anger. Those are kind of in the same category. So then we have greed. So what's the opposite of greed? We can just go ahead. Generosity. Exactly. What are some other ones that maybe you had some time to think about this last week? Renunciation. Greed. Greed. No. Well, yeah, renunciation could fit there. Sure. Yeah. So, anything else you can think of? Generosity? I said generosity. I meant to say the poison. Okay, so you have greed. We talked about power seeking last week. Remember we had that discussion about power seeking and greed. Anyway, okay, I think that was under jealousy. I apologize. Yeah, jealousy. Yeah. So anyway, you get the gist of it. You look for the opposites, and it's really quite interesting to try to find ones that are maybe not. You say anger, so then or hatred, you say love. Well, you try to look for the maybe not so obvious conditions as well. But all these qualities of the mind we have within us. Within us we have a generous heart. We have compassion. We have loving kindness. We have the generosity. We have the bodhicitta, which is that wish to be a benefit to others in the most excellent way. Would you like me to give this hand out? That's probably a good idea. Then they'll know what we're doing. Here we go. Taking a moment to get the handouts. We gave handouts last week.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So this is the one I gave you last week already. I have a new one, but this is for the people that weren't here last week, basically. I'm having a technical problem here.
Oh, good. Are you recording it?
I forgot to press record. Okay. Did you also bring your homework handout? Okay, then if you don't have the homework handout, you can hand that one out too. Okay. And this will be the new one for today. Some people don't like to have to deal with paper, but I guess I haven't made the transition. I was thinking, those little things you can plug in, what do they call them? Not a zip drive, but they're little sticks. What are they? Flash drive? I was thinking, that's what I should do. Put all my handouts on a flash drive, and then they're just a few dollars. I think you can buy them for a few dollars. That would be really fun. Okay. Okay, so as you can see in the handout, there's these 5 predominant poisons, and then their antidotes. So we're talking about the friends right now, the qualities of the mind. I remember when, maybe some of you remember this, but Jetsma for a long time, she taught in a very active and prolific way. In the early days, she would teach at least 2 times a week, and then we would have scheduled and unscheduled weekend workshops on a regular basis. So she would just maybe let us know, like on a Wednesday, okay, we're doing a workshop on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because it was her. That's the nature of the Dakini. They're very, very spontaneous like that, and so. It went on like that for a number of years to the point where her teachers advised her to take a break and go on retreat. And so when Jetsma did this, it was like a real big shock to all of us. We had been spoiled rotten by this, honestly, to the point where you just, you're not utilizing the teachings, or there's so much, you're just taking it for granted. So then she decided to move to Sedona. And this was like huge trauma for all of us. It's like, like a little child whose mommy said they're going to work full time, and now they have to travel and be away, and here we are, like whining children, mommy, So when she left for Sedona, she gave us, but she actually moved there. She ended up moving there. She went there for a retreat for a period of time, and then it was decided that she was going to actually relocate there. She gave the students, all of us little whiny children, 2 pieces of advice. She said, while I'm away, this is what I want you to do. She said, I want you to study the teaching, study everything that you've gotten so far, study. And then I want you to develop your qualities. Those were her 2 instructions. And so we all kind of like, okay, how do you study your qualities, Well, in some of my exploration, I found this amazing book. It's on the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, and some of you may know that book, actually. I think I have my copy here, but I recommend it highly. If you know the other really famous book, The Bodhisattva Way of Life, the Bodhisattva Vow, it's if you're doing any kind of Shedra training, the online Shedra training, they start you with that. But the precursor to that, like in the Shedras in India, at our monastery in India, they start before the Bodhisattva Vow with this 37 practices of Bodhisattva. And this is maybe don't want to say simpler because it's really quite profound, but maybe it's like a preparation for the Bodhisattva vow. But anyway, so when I was doing my exploring, how do I develop these qualities? One of the things I discovered was in this book it says that the root cause of our pure qualities coming forward is joyful effort, which of course is one of the 6 perfections. So I thought maybe that was a good story to bring up because maybe some of us old-timers forgot that instruction, number one. And number two, it's really important to understand how to bring forth these friends that we have within us, equally with the enemies, and weigh heavier on the friends and the qualities of the mind. And how do we do that? Well, first we start with enthusiasm, joyful effort, being willing to be honest and courageous in facing the condition of our mind. So if we can do that and apply the appropriate antidotes, then what's left after we purify these enemies, these poisons of the mind, are the qualities of the mind that are naturally inherent there. They are natural. The other is made up. The other is false. It is not true. It is not the truth of who we are. But because for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, just so many lifetimes, it's inconceivable, the teachers use that word all the time, inconceivable amounts of lifetimes of habitual patterns, habitual tendencies, and traveling on this cycle of existence over and over and over again, where we believe in self-nature as being inherently real, and then acting on that as if that were the absolute truth, then that's what we believe. We don't believe the other. We can't even see or become aware of our Buddha nature, the essence of our true nature, because it's so obscured. And so that's why Gyaltsen Rinpoche said, if you really wish or seek enlightenment, then your real practice is the practice of eradicating the 5 poisons of the mind. He said that is your true and real practice. In fact, I think I have the actual quote here someplace. Or maybe not. I thought I wrote it down. Anyway, so you get the gist of it. So the dealing with recognizing the condition of your mind through honesty and courageous effort, and applying the antidotes is not something that happens overnight. We talked about that last week. So don't be discouraged if you don't just think that you can handle this, in a few days. Just like, okay, I'll take a week and I'll journal. I'll take one poison at a time. I'm going to journal it, and then apply the antidote for 1 week. And then after 1 week, I'll be done. Now, I'm not saying that that's not possible, because it could be. It could be your karma. It could be that you worked so hard in all your previous lifetimes that now in this lifetime it just takes a little effort and you can have it purified. That is possible. But I know for most of us, and I can't speak for anyone but myself, it's been a continual effort my whole life on the path. And I mentioned this last week, and this is for the benefit of the people that just came, that Jutsma told me one time that when I was discouraged about not overcoming a particular condition of my mind, and it just kept coming back when I thought it was over, and then it would come back, and it was that horrible cycle. And she said, don't you understand, Lucia, that if you purify even one of these poisons of the mind, if it takes your whole life to do it, don't you realize that that is a great accomplishment? And it's because we've carried this on so many lifetimes after lifetimes. And to deal with a habit, or even one splinter of a habit, one partial splinter of a habit, is huge. It's really big. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the review. Is anybody that was here last week like to bring up something that you think might be helpful to our new people to the class? Yes, okay, excellent. Dream in.
I really like your quote in Jetsamo says that it's a great thing to try to eradicate the poisons. So if you wouldn't mind, can you address that through your teaching?
You mean, I'm not sure what you mean, I'm sorry.
Eradicating the poisons is very important. Actually, it wasn't a question, it was a request.
Oh, I see. You want me to find the actual quote from
Yeah,
Galton?
you already read it there.
Yeah.
From Hitler.
I don't know if I brought it with me.
Okay.
See, yeah, I don't think I brought it with me. I did bring some other quotes, but...
Maybe you could post that one on Basecamp.
Okay, good idea. I'll post them on Basecamp.
Okay, Lucy.
Well, yeah, maybe this is part of it here. Galton Rinpoche said the real samaya of the path is our heart samaya. And that involves working with the 5 poisons. So the real practice then is working with our 5 poisons. Because without it, we cannot achieve enlightenment. It's not possible. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so are there any questions so far before we move forward? Yes, Yetta.
I personally have a hard time cutting the slack for myself when I see the poison. Without even knowing it, something in me starts beating me up. And it's really hard for me to apply gentleness.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how to...
Let me,
Is there an antidote for that?
Okay, I happen to have that with me today.
Okay.
It's interesting. And this is from a teaching from Jetsma. Actually, it's so funny because that quote just kind of popped out at me. So Jetsma must have known you were wanting to hear this. So here you go. So this is just a short teaching quote on the topic of self-criticism as a habit. So you would say that that's what you're talking about, right? Okay. So self-criticism is a habit. First, and this is her method of dealing with it, okay? So she's saying first you stand back and you watch your mind passively. We talked about that last week, that you don't want to go into judgment. When you're watching your poisons, or you're trying to reveal them or be honest with them, because it's kind of interesting. If you start judging yourself, then you're using a poison to deal with a poison. You know what I mean, or a habit to do. So you don't want to enhance things. You really want to like. So she's saying observe them passively, and we use the example of being a scientist and you're trying to study a disease. And you have the cells on a slide, and you put it under the microscope, and the observer, the scientist, doesn't look at the cells and go, "Oh, you're so bad. You're such a nasty cell. I just like." They go, "Oh my goodness, look how it migrates, how it changes here. This is the pattern. Oh my goodness, this is so interesting." So it's like that. They're not like judging it. So we have to be passive in our observation. So she says, so first stand back and watch your mind passively without following it or evaluating the habit. So you simply observe. Then, so these are some of the questions you would ask yourself. So where or when is the habit more prevalent? When you are tired or hungry? Or when you experience success, or when you think you are wrong. So you're going to pick it apart. And this is really a good example of how we can go deeper in our examination of the poisons of the mind. This is a really good example, because it's not about just plopping an antidote on top of it. You have to do that maybe initially. You have to try that initially. But it's like digging deeper. And then when you get to that layer, you dig deeper. There's another layer. And when you get to that, you dig deeper. That's what she's saying. So, and then she said, learn your habit well. So you're gonna just like watch it. Like an investigator, be your own private investigator, and you follow, you have a stake out, and you're like, you're watching this particular habit of mine, in this case, self-criticism. So she said, whose voice is it? Whose voice? This is a really big one, I think, for most of us, because most of the time it's not even us. It's, not to blame mom and dad for everything, but, a lot of times it goes back to those initial experiences from childhood, and, it's mom's voice, not mine. So she's saying, whose voice is it? Where is it coming from? So identify this is a habit of my ordinary mind. So first, because here, we talked last week about what we're doing is we're moving from a state of non-recognition into a state of recognition. Okay, so we're trying to recognize what's happening here, and we have to recognize that these are the habits of our ordinary mind. So what is ordinary? What is extraordinary, right? So self-criticism is not Buddha nature, right? Buddha nature can't even produce that. It's our mistaken belief in this separated self that produces this ego-clinging self-nature that to survive has to substantiate itself, and through this process begins to identify and attach and cling and support it in this very unhealthy way. And so that's ordinary mind. So this habit is ordinary mind. So then she said, then begin to dismiss it as merely a habitual tendency. So now you're like, okay, I've spent this time, I've identified, I've examined it carefully, I understand this mechanism in my mind stream. So now I understand that it's ordinary mind, and I'm going to dismiss it. It is not the truth of who I am. It's not the truth. So she says, it is groundless, has no ground of being. If it came from the Buddha nature, it would have a ground of being because it was based in truth. If it comes from ordinary samsaric mind, it is not true. And so you have to through those mechanics, then you come to a place of certainty. This is what Justin said. So you come to this place of recognition and distinction, being able to distinguish between ordinary mind and extraordinary mind. Okay? So you dismiss it. You merely dismiss it. It is groundless. And then continually put space between the awareness and the habit. So here you have the awareness. The awareness comes from your Buddha nature. The awareness is your Buddha nature. Because our Buddha nature is what seeks us to, be able to reveal itself. It's kind of like it's inside of us naturally, and it's pushing from the inside out and helping. I'm talking about this theoretically, by the way. It doesn't mean that I've, accomplished anything. It's just this is from the teachings, okay? So it's inside, we're pushing out. So the Buddha nature is always seeking to reveal itself, and it's always helping us. So we make that distinction then between this ordinary experience of mind and this habit, we'll label it all of that habit, and awareness. Okay? So each time you have this awareness, you're putting a little bit more space in between the habit continuing and the recognition of what is true. Powerful method, right? That's a teaching from Jetsma, of course. Okay.
Do you have copies?
Pardon me?
Do you have copies of that?
I'll have to post it. I can post it on the base camp, yeah. Okay, anything else? Let me see what time it is. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Over here, I was reading people pleasing and praising others.
Mm-hmm.
That's what defines one. Oh, you have a nice suit, and then you praise. I'm not clear what's the
Okay,
Same.
why don't we dissect, what do you want, people pleasing? Is that what
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
see,
Okay.
for praising others and people pleasing, what's defined saying, oh, you're doing a good job.
Oh, that's a really good question.
But then you're just
Okay.
seeing that to be.
Yeah, it's all, it all boils down to our motivation, our intention, So,
I mean, it's internal, it's like you
yeah.
really feel the
Yeah.
person's doing a good job, and internal, you're like, I want this person to like me. And
Sure, the fact is, until we're enlightened, while we're sentient beings, because there's, in my mind, there's only two categories. You're either a sentient being or you're not, you're enlightened, So while we're a sentient being, all of our motivation is going to be mixed. It's always going to be mixed. But here in this case, people pleasing is based in, well, pride as defining pride is where you want to lift yourself up and put others down. So if you're people pleasing, the motivation would be to lift yourself up and make yourself look, like a good person because you're doing everything that the other people want. It's like an impure motivation. And
But isn't praising others almost the same thing?
yeah, but the motivation would be different. It would be like a genuine happiness for their, their happiness, or whatever is going on for them that seems to be really positive.
It's just internal.
Yeah, no, it has to do with the internal motivation, the difference there. And maybe people please, all these things that are written down here are from different people's observations and someone said people pleaser, so we put that one on there. It may not actually fit in that category, but we could just say maybe it's one of the little branches they come off. Anybody else have comments about that? It would help us
right
understand.
across from that, you have antidotes. An antidote for people please, you actually have praising others and compassion. That would be pleasing to people, but it's not. I don't think it's what they're calling people pleaser, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's internal.
See, okay, let's dissect this a little bit, okay? Because it'd be interesting, I think. So, okay, if I think about people pleasing for myself, I think of low self-esteem. And, like always wanting others to think good of you because you feel so bad underneath that about yourself. And so it's not necessarily like a malicious motivation under there. It's not like, oh, I want to, feel better than someone else. But it's more about, how you feel about yourself, your worthiness and that sort of thing.
I always think about high school days too, because that's everyone goes
painful.
through that. Your whole identity is you gotta be in with, you gotta fit in. You gotta do what this person wants, what that person wants. And when you do that, you get lost. You're pleasing other people, but you're not true to yourself.
And you're not true to yourself.
I guess you can look at that when if somebody's doing something that's opposite, but it's right, like standing for the right thing, but nobody else is saying it. I guess that's praising somebody. Somebody stands up in front of the class saying this is wrong, and nobody else is doing it.
What you're saying takes courage, but you don't think
praising others
being
with
people
courage.
pleaser takes courage.
People pleasing is not courage, and then I guess praising others could be courage and standing up for the right thing.
Yes, standing up for the right thing.
I guess that's.
And I always thought sometimes, praising others is related to antidote for jealousy, too, which is that you have rejoicing in others' good fortune.
Jealousy,
but
let's see,
also
where do we have jealousy?
praise people
Rejoicing in the other's good fortune and virtue. But you could also say praising others. It's just, I think it's in here under pride because with pride you're trying to lift yourself up and push others down. So instead of pushing down, you're lifting them up. So I think that's where it relates.
Belittling people.
Pardon me?
Belittling people. That's what making yourself feel better by like, oh look at his car. Then that would make you feel better because
Okay, what was the very first word you said?
Belittling people.
Oh, belittling.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, belittling. I'm gonna write
I think
that down.
that would be, your pride's like, well, I'm
Yeah,
driving
yeah,
a
I know.
2001, he's
I
driving
know.
a 2000,
I think we've all experienced people that are really arrogant, and you know that underneath that arrogance is low self-esteem. You know, just trying to, yeah. Belittling others to falsely make yourself feel good. It's totally not true, but yes.
I think also the outcome of what you do kind of can tell what your motivation was. Because if I'm praising someone and they don't necessarily respond to me, but my motivation is just to give them a compliment, then it wouldn't bother me so much.
Right.
But if my motivation is to please them and I don't get what I want, then I would get angry at them.
That's true. Very good. Very, very good. So you're saying look at the results, the outcome. And it's not that we want to make a habit of testing the theory out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's not working out. I'm not getting the results out. Because then, you know, karma is complicated because some people, you know, might be reacting in a particular way because they're karma or whatever. So you don't want to misread it. But that is a way to, like, assess your motivation. And also what other poisons are in your mind stream, because now you got anger coming up. Have fun. Yes, Ani?
I don't know, maybe this has been said, and maybe this is just what you said, Yakta, but for me, people pleasing, there's something in it for me. If I'm being, if I'm praising, then it's a genuine act of recognition of good qualities in the other person. But if there's no hook, then it's praising. And if there's a hook, then it's people pleasing.
Oh, okay. So that's good. So what we could do is add praising others with no hook. Might be a way to put that. Okay. There's nothing in it for you.
So if I'm working on pride and I want to work on the antidote on that and then start praising people, isn't that kind of manipulative? Working on my pride, I'm not really there.
No. I wouldn't, if it were me, I would not praise others until I felt like it was genuine.
Okay.
I mean, in some ways it has to be a mechanical process, right. You know, like, oh, I see this pride in me, now I'm going to try to be praising others. Yeah, okay, well, that is one way to do it. Or maybe you could begin by just, I'm going to think about this person's good qualities instead of like putting them down. You know, in your mind, you could be like training yourself like that. Okay, I'm just like, you know, putting them down because I really need to feel good about myself. I see that. How can I really praise them? I need to really focus on their good qualities. You know, something like that might be more useful. Yeah.
Until it really comes out naturally.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fine.
That makes me think of, like, sometimes I'm irritated with someone that's being rude or something, but whenever I sit down and contemplate it, it's reflecting something within me.
Yes.
I was just witchy with my dogs or something, you know.
We talked about that last week. Yeah, Ani used that example of, like, when you point the finger at someone else, there's 3 pointing back at you. And it's usually a reflection of your own condition, yeah. Is that
like
what you
I don't
mean?
want to even see it, so I
Yeah.
see it in someone else.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I think rejoicing in other people's successes and benefits is powerful too, because it helps me to, when I can do that, it helps me not to be as focused on my own desires and want to be better than this person and that person.
Yeah.
When you do what, Monica? I missed the beginning.
Rejoice in other people's successes
fortune.
and other people's.
Okay. Thank you.
What happened if you know, one of my experiences, you know, being nice, example, like, I'm not tired of, you know, when I be grumpy and, you know, grumpy person, a mean person or something like that, and you know that being a nice person is the right way to do it, but in your heart, you're like, I want to be nice, like, you act nice. Is that like, you know, over time, would that become, like, almost like fake it till you make it kind of thing? You know, you're faking being nice, but eventually you're like, wow, I'm seeing the benefits of being nice, and in your heart you become the person you want to be, but at first you're not ready, you're like, I'm not entirely ready to be a nice person.
Yeah,
Is that?
I understand what you're saying. That's a really good example. So remember that the first step is to just take a look and note and see the condition. And then, just by your recognizing that phenomena, you know, that's happening, that I know I'm supposed to be nice, but I don't want to be nice. I don't feel like being nice right. You know, I had a rough night and I don't feel nice right now. You know, you have so you're like taking a look right there. You're like stepping back and going, wow, I don't want to be nice. That is a huge piece of information, as opposed to it being unconscious. There's no awareness, no recognition, and so then you're just not nice. You're mean. You kick the dog, or you know, yell at the kids, or you just like act out. So you already, once you've recognized the phenomena of the mind, you know, playing out like that, that's a huge step. So we're taking a look first, just moving from a state of non-recognition into recognition. So yeah, in the beginning it might be mechanical. You know, like, oh, okay, I'll be nice. You know, I'm going to put a piece of tape on my mouth and lock myself in a room until I can genuinely feel, you know, a little inkling of compassion or something. But yeah, in the beginning, you know, it can be mechanical like that. And we all have our good days and we all have our bad days. And as much as we think we've accomplished, there's always going to be that day that comes up where we're just reacting without any mindfulness, just reacting. And then, but the difference is still, we can still take it into our own backyard, examine it, and say, okay, I made a mistake. And this is what it looked like. And this is the results. It's the scientist again. You know, you're watching it, you're seeing. It's like, oh my gosh, look at what happened. You know, I hurt people through my anger, or I hurt people through not being nice. I don't like the way that feels, and I know they didn't. So what can I do? You know, it's all like a process. Jessica says her 3 cardinal rules. Do the best you can, give yourself a break, but don't let yourself get away with murder. So, I mean, we're sentient beings, so we're going to, you know, have our days.
For me, it's not even as good days as bad days, it's good moments and bad moments. And
seconds.
Whenever I get wrapped up in something that's going on up there, if we get really busy work or something happens that affects me emotionally, I start to forget all this other stuff that I think I know, and then I start reacting, and that's when the poisons start coming up.
Yeah.
And especially in the work day when things get really busy, I just fall into habits when I can see it happening.
So that's, you know, in this example Jessica gave about self-criticism, that's one of your triggers. So that's, you know, you're looking at where does it happen? When does it happen? What are the conditions? So then, you know, then you can start dismantling it. It's really like a big, what do they call those, erector sets, where you put all these little pieces together, and our minds are like that. They're just like, you know, it's even more complicated than that. It's like there's so many pieces, and they're all integrated in this really strange way, and so we're just trying to, you know, take a piece out, and then this part loosens, and then we take another, and that part loosens. It's all like, you know, dismantling. So it's then, you know, you can say, okay, this is where it happens now. Okay, there's a clue there.
Yeah. And I've seen some things changing, but it's just that's where it's really challenging for me.
Yeah. I know everybody that lives in a community household, you know, like you have lots of roommates, or a family, you know, with kids, and those are all beautiful places for us to like see the poisons of our mind. If we have an unhappy workplace or even a happy workplace, I mean, you can find any place to utilize the Dharma. It's really amazing. And if you were like on a retreat, like I did last summer, oh my Lord, all my poisons came up. It was the most revealing retreat I've ever had. It's unbelievable. Anyway, yes.
You gave a class long ago on the poisons, and there was something you had said that I thought was really interesting about how those poisons are interconnected. And I've noticed that when they come up in my mind, I see one ricochets off another. They trigger each other.
Yeah.
And here's the example you gave. It was like, first you have desire, something you want. There's this beautiful so-and-so you want. But someone else got that person, so you're jealous of that person. And then you start getting angry and hateful at that person who has that so-and-so you want. And then you start judging that person, and that judgment comes from hatred and pride, because you're putting yourself over someone else to judge them, and so it's a hate-pride combo. And out of pride comes this delusion that you're better than others, and you can judge, and out of delusion comes ignorance.
And so the cycle goes around and around, like the snake eating its tail, right? Yeah, that's true. It can be very complicated and composite, you know, is that the right word? Where one thing builds on the other. But going back to Fred, your question, does that answer it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the thing about it is, Justin always says we have to have patience with our resistance, patience in general with ourselves, and just be kind to ourselves. Because, you know, when we start examining all of this, it gets kind of scary. It's kind of creepy in there in a way. And last week we talked about how Gyaltsen Rinpoche, when he was teaching us Nundra the first time, he said, our minds are like a glass of water that has a lot of mud in it. And then over time, the mud and the sediment settles down to the bottom. So if you were just looking at the top part of the glass of water, it'd be all clear. It would look like normal water. But then the Dharma comes along, and you put a spoon in it and stir it. And then all this stuff that's been settled down at the bottom comes up to be revealed and purified. Because that's what the path is all about. It's purification. And so even through our very effort of wishing or seeking to understand the 5 poisons of the mind and applying the antidotes and revealing our pure qualities, just through that effort creates purification. Just even wishing to do it, not even accomplishing it. Say you spent your whole life and you accomplish some of that purification. Just the effort is huge. And the way I convinced myself of that fact is that through observation, of just watching everyone around me, all these different circumstances at work or in life in general. And you see how many people are just sleepwalking through life. And the Buddha's path begins the process of us waking up. Waking up. In fact, that's what the word Buddha means. When someone asked him during his time in his lifetime, said, "What manner of man are you? What are you?" You know, he said, "I am awake." That's it. So most people sleepwalk. They think they're victims to their circumstance, and so our intention, our wish to wake up and to purify and to remove these obscurations of the mind is huge purification in and of itself. So, congratulations. You're on the path.
Rejoicing.
Rejoicing. Joyful effort. Yay. Yay, team. Okay, so maybe we should move on. We've been at this for 39 minutes and 53 seconds, plus a few minutes before I turn this on. Okay, let's see. There's a teaching that I really wanted to share with you all, and I want to share one more thing before we get to this. But Ani, why don't you start passing this out while I mention this other thing, okay? So, one of the things that Jetsma harps on, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean it in a really good way, but she just dwells on this over and over and over again. And if you listen to other teachers, they do the very same thing. And they say that the foundation of the path has to be the awareness of the faults of cyclic existence. And that we should examine this on a regular basis, daily, if we can manage it. We should be contemplating the faults of cyclic existence every day if we can. It should never be a part of us, this awareness. And why is that? Okay, you can look at the cyclic existence. We know that there are 6 realms of cyclic existence. Actually, I wanted to clarify something from last week, because somebody asked the question, well, there's these 5 poisons, but there's these 6 realms of cyclic existence that you can take rebirth in. Is everybody here familiar with the 6 realms of cyclic existence? Fred? Okay. Okay, we'll just take a couple of minutes to go over that then. So the Buddha taught that there's this place called samsara. It's also called cyclic existence. And cyclic existence is the realm of the mind of dualism, the mind of ego clinging, the mind that believes in self-nature as being separate from other. It's the realms of suffering that are the result of that erroneous belief, and that you get stuck on this cycle unless you begin to create the causes to exit from it. And there's 6 realms, and each of these realms relate to these 5 poisons. So, for example, there's the God realm, the jealous God realm, the animal realm. I'm getting these out of order. The animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the hell realms, and the human realm.
I've seen a picture of that.
Yeah, okay. So these are realms, and they relate to a poison. So 5 of them relate to the ones that we're studying. So you have the hell realm would be hatred and anger. The hungry ghost realm, or the preta realm, is attachment, grasping, clinging, stinginess. So that would be greed. Let's see. Animal realm would be delusion, dullness of the mind, ignorance. And then you have the God realm, which is pride and arrogance, lifting oneself up. And then jealous God realm, jealousy, war, the mind that creates war, power seeking, that sort of thing. So you have those 5. So then you say, well, we have this number 6. Why isn't that in there? Well, because we experience all of these 5 realms, 5 of the 6 realms within the human realm. We experience hatred, greed, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. Experience it all. But only in the human realm do we have an opportunity to transform it, to exit cyclic existence. But if we were going to define it as a particular poison, then we would say confusion, doubt, and confusion. It goes in that order. Because first you have doubt, and that's a part of the ego's, the mind of ego. You have doubt because ego always wants to be right, and so a pure ego thought would be, of course I am right, and everybody else is reflecting off of me. you know. So there's always doubt, but then there's confusion that follows that. So, and that there's always the confused mind because you're not basing that reality in true awareness. But in the human realm, you can have the antidotes to all of these, and you can find the method to exit cyclic existence. So that was a question for last week. We just cleared that up. Okay. So, all right. So going back to this teaching that Jessica gave, the foundation of the path is the awareness and the study of the faults of cyclic existence. So we have the reason that is the foundation is that if we have to learn how to fall out of love with samsara or cyclic existence. And you would think, because when you look at these poisons and the condition of the mind when we're focused on self-nature, that we could just poof, just say, oh, I'm done with that. That is just whoa, crazy. This crazy stuff. I'm not doing that anymore. You'd think we could do that. But we can't, because we've had this habit of mind just aeons of time, so many countless lifetimes where we believe in self-nature. We cannot cut the habit that fast. So through studying the faults, then increment by increment we can fall more and more out of love with samsara. And we can turn to our Buddha nature and rely on that. Rely on our teacher and all of us here. We're all Buddhists here together. You can see that, recognize that, rely on that instead of samsara. But it's so hard because, especially in this day and age, the electronic day and age technology, it's wildly exciting and fun, and you just want to be totally
and addicted.
And addicted to it. Yeah, totally addicted. You want all this stuff. I was watching commercial yesterday. I babysat all day long. It was great for a little 1-year-old. Anyway, I had the TV on for a little while, and the commercials. There's so many commercials, but they make everything just look so amazingly attractive. It's just and I have to admit, I was looking at this clothing commercial. Look how she layered this, and the belt and the purse, earrings. And it's you're looking at that. But here I've been a nun for I don't know how many years, 20 plus years, and I'm still, it caught me. It hooked me for a few minutes. It's
Well, it's not that. It's I want more long underwear.
Yeah, in my normal state of mind, I'll be thinking like that too. Gee, what can I wear under my robes during the winter that make me a little warmer? But anyway, so we have to recondition our mind along with this study of the 5 poisons. We have to recondition the mind to understand its faults, what cyclic existence is all about, its faults, and how it will only lead you back on the wheel, and you'll be stuck there until you apply antidotes and you make the determination, make the commitment to exit. Okay? So that is really so important. All right, so now let's go to this handout, and we'll spend the rest of our time with this. Okay, this came from a teaching in 1988, and we had just gone through the Rinchen Terzad, which is one of the longest cycles of empowerments and teachings that exists in the world. It contains all of the teachings, empowerments, transmissions that Guru Padmasambhava gave.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Rinchen Terzad, yeah.
Took 3 months to give it.
Yeah, it was three months. But anyway, after that, Justin began giving just these incredibly potent teachings. Not that the rest of them weren't, because they are all like that. but these were, they were like, you know, you put the nail down in the wood and you hit the hammer, you know, and you try to like, sometimes you miss it a lot. I'm talking about us as students. Well, here, she was like, bam, you know, everyone was just hitting it straight on, and we were just like, oh. It was really, really potent, direct, extremely powerful teachings. And so this one came from, you know, a short time after we'd completed the Rinchen Terzad. And the title of it is, it's from the Dharma in Depth series. These are teachings that she gave to students that were practicing Nundro and had a commitment to the path. And it's called Using Desire to Practice. So just the title alone is very revealing and has a message in and of itself, because the path really is, especially in Vajrayana, where they use the analogy of a peacock feather. Have you guys ever read about that analogy? The symbolism of a peacock feather? Mm-hmm. So the peacock feather is used as a symbol of the diamond path of the Vajrayana vehicle, because if you look at the peacock bird, it has this incredibly beautiful plumage. It's just vibrant and so beautiful. But if you look at the habits of this bird, they are really kind of gross and disgusting. And but yet it produces this beautiful plumage. So that's analogous to taking poison and transforming it into nectar, like Amrita. So just the title alone, Using Desire to Practice. So we take our poison, we utilize it to practice, and we get this sublime result. It's possible. Okay. So this is a particular method that Jetsma gave us, how we could use the desire to practice. But this is also a teaching about power, about learning how to unveil our power and utilize it to bring benefit. Okay? So everybody have a handout? Let's just talk about this for a minute. Okay, so in the method, she's saying that the first step is that, well, first we're recognizing it like we talked before. We're taking a look, we're recognizing it, we're examining it, we're identifying it, we're being like the, you know, what do they call it? I forgot what I just... Yeah, the private investigator. And we're like really, really examining it, identifying it. Okay, so in this case, we're using the desire. Okay, so she said, first of all, do not suppress it. Do not say it's wrong, and do not fake it. You just observe it, you see it. In whatever dimension it is, no matter what. If it's really ugly or nasty, you just look at it. And you do not suppress any feelings, so you allow yourself to feel it. She says, allow yourself to feel all of it. At the same time as being aware of the feelings, you also sense the power of that emotion. It's a dynamo of energy. Okay, so basically, so we're not suppressing our feelings. So say we have, Lucia's desire for the clothing. I don't know if that was an actual desire, but let's do something else. Let's say, who has an example? I was thinking chocolate cake, but maybe that's not good enough.
Lamborghini.
What?
A Lamborghini.
Okay, Lamborghini. Okay, so we have this desire for a Lamborghini. Wait, let's see. What would that evoke? Any kind of emotion?
Jealousy. Like I don't have
Okay.
it.
All right. Let's do this. So you're feeling like jealousy.
I think it has
excitement.
Well, money or lack of money.
Okay.
Prestige, I guess, that person.
Okay.
I guess, what else?
I have to look at the book.
I mean, there's a lot. I think there's a lot.
Okay. All right, well, let's just go with it then. So you have this intense desire. It comes up, and so you're not going to make it wrong. You're going to feel whatever's coming along with that. Even, you can even trace it back to maybe some childhood stuff like, Dad never gave me this or that, or, and I deserve this, but yet I don't. I mean, you can just go on and on with all these kind of splintered feelings. Okay, so you don't suppress any of that, no matter what it looks like, all right? So then, at the same time, let's say, a really good example is like if anger comes out of this, because last week we talked about, someone said anger, they read that anger was a secondary emotion. Do you remember that from last week? Yeah, you remember. Okay. So we're going to consider all these secondary kind of things. So say anger comes up. Say anger is really powerful because you're really, really mad now. And maybe it is a childhood thing that it triggered, okay? So then what you do is you kind of stand back. She says, get enough space from the feeling to sense the power of it. So what happens to you when anger comes up? Just, as an example.
Wide awake.
Like
Heart racing.
Heart racing, okay. What else? Red in the face. Yeah, palms get all. Oh, yeah, clenching the jaw, do that.
Yeah, stomach tension.
Stomach tension, like, oh, yeah. What else? I guess that's enough. That's plenty. Right. Okay, so you're feeling all of that. And so then you notice that there's a power to that, like the power of that emotional response that you're having. It has energy. It has power.
The adrenaline's going.
The adrenaline's going, yeah. You're really, really cranked up. Or you could even think about anything that pushes your button, and you have a visceral response to that. So look at that, and then you step back and you try to get some space from that, and you see the power that it has over you. Where in the world did that come from? How is it that just having that one thought or that one very brief experience, like the thought, I wish I had a Lamborghini, could evoke that kind of powerful response in you? So that, you think, this is powerful stuff. It's affecting my whole beingness, my physical beingness, my mind. It could affect my speech even. Okay, so then now we've taken that next step. Okay, so now she's saying don't turn it off, don't run away from it, and don't try to smooth it over. Do not think that you don't want to feel that way or that it's not proper or something like that. You are just simply observing. You are the observer. She said, feel the passion, feel the hot, driving energy there. Cultivate an understanding of the power of the passion of the emotion. There is a passion for the power. There's a passion for needing to feel safe, exerting influence, etc. Okay? So we're still the observer. We're noticing this power. So then the next step is you feel the power of this energy and really examine the dynamic force that it is. Then you find a way to put your finger on the pulse of it. You feel the energy and then stand back and look at yourself, feeling it, and ask. Okay, so basically this whole first section, before we go into the next part, is huge experience. And I would really suggest that you try it out. The next time somebody pushes your button or you have any kind of instantaneous, powerful reaction, emotional reaction, then stand back and watch yourself go through it. And then see the power of it. Okay? Try it. Has anybody already tried that?
I've had a situation where I worked really hard on something, have a lot of heart into it, present it, and the people either don't listen or they smack it down for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's like a match, I just flame.
Yeah.
And I get so just full of rage.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking at that like, why is that such a sensitive button?
Yeah.
And so far all I have is awareness.
Yeah.
I haven't had any further.
So where to take that is
Yeah.
what you'll get from this teaching, yeah. So first, like we were saying all along, you're taking a look, so you're noticing that you were able to step back and watch yourself do it.
Yeah.
But then what do you do with it after that is the big question,
Yeah.
right? In the moment when it's so powerful and so, overcoming in a way.
It just like inflames your whole
Yeah,
mind.
inflammation, yeah, Jessamy
Yeah.
uses that in some of her teachings about this. Okay, so then the next step is, this isn't just like an instantaneous thing usually. It took you a while to like get to that place, right, Ani?
Yeah.
Because at first, initially, when you're having an intense reaction like that, you are involved in the reaction.
Right.
You're not, it's like in fact, your awareness is kind of dulled at that point because it's almost like you're not in control, right? Would you
Yeah.
say that would be a good assessment? So you are, inflamed, and right there, you're totally focused on that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then when you get through that process where you can step back and create, like Justin says, create a space, then you can step back and watch yourself, identify it, just look at it carefully. My palms are sweating. I'm like, all the things we described. My stomach hurts. I feel like I want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
All those kind of things. Okay, so then she says, you feel the energy of it and you stand back and take a look. So then, who is the feeler? And these are really powerful questions. It's a little bit of Vipassana here. Who is the feeler? Who is the taster? What is the event here? What is happening? Your mind will say, I am. Then you have to ask yourself, who is the I that is speaking? Where is that I? When did it begin? When will it end? Where is it? Okay, so you're asking all these questions. As soon as you start asking these questions, it's like we mentioned last week, it's like a plug that's plugged into the wall. You pull the plug out, and the energy the circuit is broken. There's no more flow of electricity. As soon as you step back and start the process of examination, the reaction gets cut. The electricity gets cut. The power gets cut. Okay? So now we're asking these questions. Who's the feeler? Who's tasting this? Who is experiencing this? And of course, like she says, your mind will naturally say, I am. It's me. I'm doing this. Okay. Okay. So then you begin to develop a sense of spaciousness in your own mind. And so then, what is the desire? What is desire? Can you hold it in your hand? What makes desire so powerful is not that it exists. This is a good quote for Facebook, by the way.
Oh.
What makes desire so powerful is not that it exists, but that you go after it so quickly and so immediately that it changes and destabilizes your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Look. So true, right? You might want to read that a couple times.
Seriously.
What was that? So, yeah, it's not the desire itself, it's how we react to it. And we do it so, quickly. If the right circumstances are there, if that button is pushed, our fiery buttons, that it destabilizes our mind. So desire, by definition, if it did not destabilize your mind and cause you to react, would not be desire. Cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't have the power to pull you away, it would not be desire. So in doing this, asking yourself these questions, the desire loses some of its potency. And what you are left with is raw power of a feeling that you had, but it's not complicated by desire. So what that means is that once you have gone through this examination process, you've pulled the plug, you've cut the circuit, and you're standing back and you've watched how it destabilized your mind, and now you're just looking at it without reaction, and you're seeing it simply as raw power. Okay? So it's almost like a sculptor who starts out with this big slab of granite, or what do they use? Marble. Marble, or any kind of stone, I guess. A marble, let's say. This big slab of marble, and it's just this raw, undefined condition. It's just raw power. Okay? All right. Let's see. So in doing this, okay, at that point you can watch the nature of your own mind. Who made this power? What's this power made of? Who is the maker? What is the substance? And in asking yourself this, the power that you experience in your emotion is actually transformed into something that causes you, that propels you to a greater understanding of your nature, just naturally. Your nature is empty of things. It is no thing. Okay, so, yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? And then later in the teaching, Judson says that this raw power, what if you were to utilize that same powerful energy to practice? At that point, you can. Once you've gone through this process, you end up with the big marble slab. It's raw. You can do whatever you want with it. So why not use it to practice? Practice an antidote. Practice bodhicitta and all of that. Okay. Now this, this is a really powerful method, and you may not want to just start here, but you may want to too. You may want to start here. But if you are not able to do this right off the bat, don't worry about it. It'll come in time. And I can tell you from having utilized this method myself, it's really extraordinary. Really, really extraordinary. And but the first step, is recognition. Just taking a look and starting there. Okay, but I wanted to leave this with you because this is really, really incredible. Now, of course, the most powerful antidote of all is what? Who knows the answer? What? Yes. Right. 10 points. We'll give her 20 actually. Bodhicitta. Yeah. That is the supreme antidote to everything. And so study the bodhicitta. You get to see the bodhicitta in all kinds of ways. Study it in books, in the teachings. Study it in your own mind. Of course, the bodhicitta is the great compassion. It's altruistic, but it's even beyond altruism, because altruism is really beautiful thing. It's something we all want to cultivate and have, create the conditions for in our mind stream. Absolutely, without doubt. But bodhicitta is just a little step beyond that.
It's wisdom too, right?
It's wisdom and compassion married together. Absolutely. And the distinction, though, is that it's natural process. Naturally there. Where altruism, we're like in the developmental kind of stage, but when we finally unveil our true inherent nature, we find that its purest, truest qualities are this primordial wisdom nature and this great compassion, this bodhicitta that is flawless. It never ends. It never begins or never ends. It's just constancy. And we see that in our teachers. We see them, our enlightened teachers, they have no building blocks left in their mind for anything other than that. So that anything and everything that they do is to bring benefit. They cannot do anything other than that. It's their natural state. And that's our natural state too. We just don't recognize it completely yet, but we're working on it. Okay? So, does anybody have any comments, or we'll close here? Yes.
So as you're reading these artistic cancer desires, I find myself like resisting and being angry.
Yeah.
I know I have to do it, otherwise it will kill me, but I almost feel like so much resistance for even wanting to be attached to it. What do you, how do you?
Well, what do you think that is? Let's look at that.
Probably my ego not wanting to go there is fear. It's more like fear on it.
Okay.
That fear of unknown, that if I do this, what will happen to me?
Right. Okay, so actually this is something that we didn't really have time for this, but maybe anybody mind if we take like another 2-3 minutes to talk about this? Okay. There's another teaching that Judson McKay gave that was talked about fundamental delusion. So when you're like, in the beginning we're just looking at these poisons on the surface, but then as we go further and further we get down deeper and deeper and deeper. So with every condition of our mind, there's a fundamental delusion that created the cause and the condition for that to happen. So even in that resistance that you're having, there's a cause for that. There's a reason for that happening. So you can either, like, because it's uncomfortable, like kind of ignore it and just notice it and apply an antidote, on the surface, like maybe whatever you think that antidote would be. Or another way is to, like, seek to go deeper than that. And so you can, like, just ask the question. You can ask the question of your own Buddha nature. You can say, or you can say, Guru Rinpoche or Tara, please help me. I want to know what's underneath this. And, or whatever method works for you, You can just have that intention. If you couple it with the bodhicitta thought, then there'll be results, okay? So then you can say, what's underneath that? And then it will take some time and just sit with it. Okay, so the resistance, what is the resistance? So already you have a few clues already. Fear, right? Okay, so then fear. What's underneath that? What else has happened in my life that's caused me fear? Why would I have fear? Okay, so then you relax into that, and then maybe you find under that that you have a problem with trusting. I'm just guessing. This is not an assessment for you, but this is just an example. So maybe I have a problem with trusting. Okay, so then over time, okay, what happened that caused this lack of trust? And then you can maybe go underneath that, and it's like, oh, well, this happened, in my childhood or whatever. And then after that, okay, well then, why did I make that decision to not trust? So that anyway, you might get down to the bottom of it, and then there might have been like an incident or something in your life, in this life, in your maybe early childhood, where a parent or someone that had influence on you made you believe something about yourself that wasn't true. So that would be like the fundamental delusion. So say what the fundamental delusion could be something like abandonment. That a parent might have said, I'm so angry at you, I'm going to take you away to an orphanage. I know that's extreme, but but really, seriously, you just seek to go underneath it, keep going underneath it, keep going underneath it, and there'll be a place of fundamental delusion where at that moment, at that time, you made a decision. It was based on delusion, but you made a decision there. If you get to that place, it's just like poof, it's like, oh my gosh, and you might cry, or you might it would just be like this unveiling That is also another method that you can use. Jessima calls that the fundamental delusion. Okay?
May I add
Yeah.
something to that?
Sure.
Is that some things that have also helped me is to look for an earlier similar situation. Just whatever you're feeling in that place where you can be quiet with your mind and no distractions. Just be open to anything that happened where an earlier similar situation occurred where you felt the same way, and just keep going back to earlier similar, and that sometimes helps you get to that original place.
Thank you, Annie. Okay, I think we've run out of time. We could go on and on about this subject. It's so vast.
Can we?
Well, you know, I talked last week about having a partner on the path, partner where you're, really make a commitment to each other's enlightenment, and you help them go through this process, discovering the poisons and antidotes and that sort of thing. So, if you guys want to continue, if you're interested, we could form a study group or something of people that want to focus in this way and help each other, Oh, I need to make one quick clarification. I don't even know if the people are in here that heard this last time, but last week we talked about meditation, and I think it was you, Yekta. Meditation, I think I made a comment about it not being an antidote. I spoke, that was not true. Meditation is an antidote. But what we're talking here is different. It's sort of like a fundamental stage where we're looking at hatred and then love, that kind of thing. But actually, meditation is an antidote because it dismantles, you're letting go. If a thought comes up or a feeling or a poison, it comes up, then you're practicing letting go. And in that process, it is an antidote. But we're just talking about a different antidote here, okay? But I think I said that wrong last week. Okay, so now we're going to do a Jessima's dedication prayer, and then maybe we can talk afterwards about if people want to form a study group and keep going with this. So I think it's a good idea. Really, I think it helps each other to hear each other's stories. It's kind of like an AA meeting in a way. At the AA meetings, you reveal things, and you hear other people, and then it really helps you a lot. So.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay. It just my head is all going through the AA program at one time as a way to deal with our habitual tendencies. So we all went to AA meetings all over, and ACOA and all that stuff for a while. It's really good. Really good. Okay. Do you all know this prayer, or do you need to get the book? Okay. I think it's on page 57, is that right, Anya? So I want to dedicate the merit because just in listening to the Dharma and thinking about these thoughts, we are creating merit and purification. Merit equals purification. And so we want to dedicate that, offer that to be a benefit to sentient beings. Okay. By this effort, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may all causes resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms. So thank you very much for coming. And,